So lately I've been rewatching the Pokemon anime, partly for nostalgia reasons, but also with the intention to hopefully watch some seasons of the anime I've never watched before. I stopped watching the Pokemon anime consistently after X and Y, so there's a lot of seasons that I still haven't watched personally, and I intend to change that. But despite how big the Pokemon anime is, I still decided it would be a good idea to go all the way back to the beginning and go from there. As I'm making this video, I recently finished the Pokemon Advance series, and during my rewatch there was one episode in particular I was really looking forward to. I didn't remember when it happened, I just know it was an episode I really enjoy. And it's also one of my favourite episodes when it comes to Jessie James Meowth, aka Team Rocket, the best and funniest characters in the anime. We all know how Team Rocket were during the Pokemon anime. They were comic relief, they were never taken seriously, and very quickly everyone in the anime never took them as legitimate villains that could be a threat. They were always sent blasting off. Ash and the gang quickly got used to them to showing up to try and cause trouble and make it double. But they were never a threat, they were never actually successful. Hell, there's even episodes in the anime where Team Rocket shows up at the start of the episode to cause trouble, make it double, and Ash and friends' response is basically, we're kind of busy right now, yeah, we don't have time for you. Pikachu, Thunderbolt please, thank you very much. And Team Rocket are sent blasting off within the first few minutes of an episode. This happened multiple times in the anime, and especially throughout the original up to Diamond and Pearl. I feel like I'm beating a dead rabbit dash by saying this. Team Rocket were incompetent. They were incapable of succeeding in pretty much anything they tried to do, and no one took them seriously throughout the seasons. Something definitely changed though when we got to Black and White. There was an attempt to make Team Rocket a little bit more competent during the Black and White anime. There was a whole arc dedicated to Meowth joining Ash and friends for a little bit. And yes, I said arc, we're not just talking about a one-off episode. There was a good handful of episodes where Meowth joined Ash and friends and seemingly has officially joined their team, as it were. But later on, we get the reveal that this was all part of a grand Team Rocket scheme the entire time. And that kept going through X and Y as well. In fact, I'll happily say that when it comes to Team Rocket, X and Y is probably their best series. I feel like X and Y does the perfect job of finding a balance between Team Rocket being comic relief, but also legitimate villains. As crazy as that probably sounds, X and Y found a good balance between the two. One of the things I think actually came to Team Rocket's benefit around this time was the fact that they weren't in every episode anymore. They weren't showing up in every episode to try and cause trouble, make it double. Instead, they would appear every now and then as recurring characters. Still comedic villains, but still capable of causing trouble, make it double. Like I said earlier, I stopped watching the anime consistently after X and Y, so I don't know much about Sun and Moon, but to my knowledge, Jessie, James and Meowth were the same in that series as well. They had some moments to show that they could actually be competent villains, or at least competent trainers to battle against Ash and his friends. Going back to X and Y, I remember when I was first watching that series being very surprised by the very first battle Team Rocket has with Ash. Wobbuffet was winning a 2v1 battle against Ash's Pikachu and Clemont's Bunnelby. All Team Rocket had at that point was Wobbuffet, and Wobbuffet was doing fine on his own. The only reason why Team Rocket lost that battle was because Froakie showed up and cheated. A funny memory I have regarding Team Rocket being more competent during the X and Y anime was when I was telling my friends about it who stopped watching the anime long before X and Y. And I remember the look of shock they had on their faces when I said, yeah, Team Rocket, Jessie, James, Meowth, they actually are pretty competent in X and Y. They can actually be legitimate threats during the series. None of my friends believed me, but I was like, no, trust me guys, I mean it. I can't really blame them for not believing me though, because again, we're talking about Jessie, James and Meowth, and especially before Black and White, they had the reputation of being incompetent at everything they did. They were never taken seriously. They could never be seen as proper villains. Well, maybe never's a strong word, because there are those rare instances during the original Advance, and Diamond and Pearl anime, where Jessie James and Meowth actually gets to shine as proper villains, not just comic relief. So let's finally talk about the episode I mentioned earlier, the one I was looking forward to the most during my rewatch of the Pokemon Advance series. Episode 17 of Pokemon Advance Battle, Do I Hear a Ralts? This episode stands out to me as one of Team Rocket's best episode in the entire anime. So Ash and friends find an injured Ralts out in the woods. Max specifically forms a connection with the Ralts. Thanks to old reliable Brock, Ralts is able to recover a little bit, but it would definitely be best to get it to a Pokemon Center as soon as possible. Team Rocket sees the Ralts and they decide that they want to steal the Ralts, because of course they do. The plan starts off as a standard scheme you expect to see from Team Rocket. James is disguised in probably one of his best fits in the entire anime, claiming to be Ralts' trainer. Jessie and Meowth shows up disguised as a Curlier and Gardevoir, and again I've got to say, James's disguise here is one of the best outfits he's ever had in the anime. He looks great like this. So they attempt to convince Ash and the gang that Ralts belongs to him, and we get a pretty funny way for Ash and the gang to realise that it's Team Rocket. Ash pulls out his Pokedex to analyse the Curlier to reveal that it is indeed Meowth. We have the standard Team Rocket motto, prepare for trouble, make it double, Wobbuffet. And then we go straight into a battle. No other plans here. Jessie just sends out Dustox to go straight on the attack. James calls out Katnia to do the same thing. So we start off pretty simple here, pretty standard stuff. But at the same time, I feel like we already get to see a slightly different level of competence from Team Rocket. The way Dustox and Katnia attacks the group here, it just seems just a little bit more capable than we are used to seeing from these Pokemon. Ash gets Pikachu to go on the attack with Thunderbolt, and I'm sure if this was any other episode, this would have been the point where Team Rocket would have been sent blasting off again. But instead of that, during the Thunderbolt attack, James gets Chimecho to use Heal Bell to heal the rest of the team. Smart move! How often do you see Chimecho joining in the battle? I honestly could probably count on one hand the amount of times that happened. May sends out her Combustion to use Fire Spin on Team Rocket, but Dustox easily blows that away. Fire Spin? Come on, May. Try Ember next time, or Flamethrower. Come on. Jessie calls out Survivor to join the fight, having a pretty cool Poison Tail, Iron Tail collision with Pikachu. James then gets Katnia to go on the attack with Pin Missile again, forcing Brock to join the battle with Ludicolo using Razor Leaf to counter the attack. And this is one of the crazy things about this. Everyone's involved. Usually in an episode like this, fighting against Team Rocket, it's just Ash or May or Brock with maybe the character of the episode joining in, taking care of Team Rocket. This episode though, there's no other character. Ash, May and Brock are all fighting Team Rocket together here. How rare is that? How often does that happen? So as the battle continues, Ash, Brock and May convinces Max to get out of here, to take the Ralts with him and focus on getting Ralts to a Pokemon Center, while Ash, May and Brock keep fighting with Team Rocket. Jessie and James's main three Pokemon goes to attack Max and Ralts, resulting in Pikachu, Combustion and Ludicolo having to protect Max. Kinda crazy considering this is Jessie and James we're talking about here, but yeah, they were going straight after the injured Pokemon and the kid. Max then finally leaves with the Ralts, and before Snorunt goes to join him, Ash gets Snorunt to use Icy Wind against Team Rocket, hoping to freeze them. And this is where Wobbuffet gets to have his highlight in the episode. During the battle, he used Mirror Coat to protect Team Rocket. And this shot here with the entire squad, I actually find them pretty intimidating right now. These guys are legitimately a threat. There's no other plan either. It's not like Team Rocket really has another scheme or anything like that. This is just a straight up battle. Am I even watching the same anime right now? It feels like I'm watching a completely different Pokemon series. What is this? What's going on? Are we watching the same Team Rocket that we've been watching for all these other episodes? So yeah, when Team Rocket realizes that Max has left with the Ralts, that pisses off Jessie in particular, and she gets Survivor to use Haze Attack so they can get away and chase after Max and the Ralts. So that's the other thing to point out here. They don't lose. This battle's a stalemate. They could have easily won this fight against Ash's Pikachu, May's Combustion, and Brock's Ludicolo. This was an all-out brawl, this was an all-out fight, and we don't even get to see the ending to it. I know it's probably unlikely, but of all times where Team Rocket may have won against Ash and his friends, this could have been the very episode. Imagine if they just decided to not go after the Rolts and just stay here to keep battling Ash, May and Brock. What would have happened? Would it have actually been possible for them to defeat Ash and friends? Maybe, possibly. And then they could have easily have taken at least Pikachu, Combusken and Ludicolo from them. It's funny to really think about that. This could have been their time to shine as proper villains. I feel like if this was a very different show, especially at this time, Team Rocket may have actually succeeded in stealing Ash and his friends' Pokemon. But of course the main focus for this episode is for Team Rocket to try and steal the Rolts. So they leave, the battle's a stalemate, and they go after Max and the Rolts. So once again, there's actually a moment in this episode where I found this trio to be intimidating. They catch up to Max and Rolts, and this is what they say.
You're going to pay for that last attack.
And one Rolts ought to cover it.
I wouldn't pay you 1 penny. No. Snow, run.
My, aren't we one tough little hombre?
Yeah, I'll show you tough. Hand over the Rolts or else.
Again, am I watching the same show? It feels like I've loaded up a completely different Pokemon series right now. I am not used to seeing these three being this intimidating. Alas, I am reminded that I am indeed watching the same Pokemon series, immediately after having one of the best lines of dialogue in the series in my opinion with these three. They are sent blasting off with Curlier and Gardevoir using Psychic. And then towards the end of this episode, things do pretty much return to the status quo for Team Rocket. Max makes it to the Pokemon Center, Rolts is healed, Ash and the gang are already there to reunite with him. Team Rocket makes another attempt of stealing the Rolts using the Curlier and Gardevoir disguise, and it goes just as well as you probably expect it to if you were watching literally any other episode from the Advanced series that wasn't this episode. Meowth and Jessie are easily dealt with very quickly, and not far behind them is poor James. This episode left an impact on me, both as a child and now as an adult. Was I watching the same show? It felt like the writers just suddenly decided to say, fuck it, let's make an episode where Team Rocket can actually be villains for a bit. I know we're going to have to send them blasting off again at the end, but let's have some fun before we get there. Let's actually make them competent villains for a little bit. And I would say they succeeded. Multiple scenes during this episode, Team Rocket were actually intimidating. And during the battle itself, the thing I love the most about it, every Pokemon in their arsenal at this point was utilized. It wasn't just a standard Cacnea, Dustox / Seviper fighting Ash's Pikachu and maybe May or Brock or character of the episode with their Pokemon. Ash, May and Brock all had to join in this battle. Team Rocket had Seviper, Dustox and Cacnea on the attack, but Chimecho was also here to help. Wobbuffet was here to help. This was crazy. And then you get a few shots of Team Rocket like this, and wow, these are actually villains. I'm actually scared a little bit. I'm actually intimidated. These are the guys I should be laughing at? Look at how they are in this episode. I'm honestly impressed. Especially as a kid, I'm certain I wasn't expecting them to be this capable in this episode. What an enjoyable experience, and I think this is one of the best episodes of the Pokemon Advanced series, or even just throughout the entire anime in general. Especially when you want to focus on Jessie James and Meowth, I think this episode stands out as one of their best episodes. Yeah, it ends with them being blasted off again like usual, but until we get to that point, we actually get some fun, intimidating scenes with Team Rocket of all characters. And during their fight against Ash and his friends, Jessie and James are doing pretty well, to the point where they could have actually won this fight if they didn't focus on the Rolts. So I guess the best way to end this video is to simply say, don't underestimate Jessie James and Meowth, as crazy as that sounds. Much like what I said about Jack Spicer in the Shaolin Showdown video I did, Team Rocket aren't entirely incompetent. They had moments, they had time to shine in a lot of episodes in the anime, but I think the episode that really highlights how competent they could be as villains sometimes is this episode. This episode, we got to see a very different side of Team Rocket in my opinion. They were still funny, but in my opinion, we also got to see them be actual villains this time. I'm intimidated. I'm legitimately a little bit afraid. Because as crazy as it sounds, during this episode, I would say that it was possible that they could have won. They could have stolen Pikachu. If they weren't so fixated on the Rolts in this episode, they could have potentially have at least stolen Pikachu. And maybe this could have been like the start of a 2-parter or 3-parter in the anime, where they actually succeeded in this episode, and the next episode had to follow up on that, with Ash and the gang trying to find Team Rocket so that they can get Pikachu back. As I mentioned earlier in the video, from Black and White and onwards, there was clearly an attempt to make Team Rocket just a little bit more competent and capable as villains, while still being comic relief. And in my opinion, X and Y did the best job of having that middle ground for making them a legitimate threat at times, but still the funny comic relief villains that will be sent blasting off again by Ash and friends. In older seasons of the anime, it felt like we would never get to see Team Rocket be actual intimidating villains after their initial introduction way back at the start of the series. But then this episode pops up and I'm like, wow, I'm actually impressed. These guys are actually doing a great job. It's also reached a point where, as an adult now, there's a small part of me that was actually even rooting for Team Rocket. I actually wanted to see them win for once, even if, like I already suggested, this was the start of a 2-part or 3-part story where eventually they get defeated later on. They are competent in this episode. They are straight up villains in this episode. So yeah, I think I've rambled long enough about this topic. Let's end the video here. I hope you enjoyed, and depending on how this goes, maybe I'll try and do some other Pokemon content in the future. We'll just have to wait and see. So until next time, bye. You know, a part of me kind of regrets wearing this because it's very hot right now. I am very sweaty, and there's also another painfully obvious reason why I probably shouldn't have worn this, because I've gotten a bit bigger since I originally bought this jacket, and yeah, oops, I've done some damage to it. I could probably rip this whole jacket apart, like just doing this. Oh, I probably shouldn't do that. I originally purchased this attire for a fancy dress party like 10 years ago now. I was Ash Ketchum for a fancy dress party, and Ash went on a very different journey that night. He got incredibly wasted. On the bright side though, this adventure with Ash did involve his father, so there's that at least. But yeah, Ash Ketchum had quite a lot to drink that night. I was originally supposed to spend the night at a friend's house. Instead, said friend called my dad because I was so wasted. My dad and my friend had to help me get home. Good times. Good times.